So it's interesting because when I was first thinking about entrepreneurship, like years ago before I actually quit, I was relying on like books from Amazon and like free stuff on YouTube, which is still great. It's not bad. But I realized I wasn't making nearly enough progress to actually be an entrepreneur.
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Small Business Safari. We are excited today because we've got Gabby, the corporate quitter.
What a great name.
I love that name. I love that. I'm going to actually, should I steal it or maybe she probably trademarked it?
She might know about it by now.
Oh,
if you were going to steal it because you just put it out there.
Damn it. And there's no way I'm going to overcome her presence out there online either. So she's definitely got that.
We need to find out how we get out from under that shadow. She's killing it.
She is killing it, bro. Here we go. All right. We start every episode with cheers, Gabby. Cheers. And today we're drinking Modelo again. So we're going back south of the border, Alan.
Yep.
We got to drink beer.
See.
Gracias, Alan. All right. Thank you for that.
Denada.
Gabby, thanks for coming on board and coming to talk to us today. We're excited to talk to you about your career and kind of what you've done. But as two fellow corporate quitters, but we didn't call ourselves that, but we did quit corporate America and start it. We're excited to hear about your journey and what you've been on. But before we get there, where the hell are you from and how did you get here?
Yeah, so I'm originally from New York. So I now live in Austin, Texas, but I'm a born and bred New Yorker, was on Long Island and basically put some ground roots in the city, but left.
Wait a minute. Catch that. Back that up. Say, where are you from again?
Long Island.
Right. That's one word.
Long Island.
Long Island. I learned that from a guy when I was a kid. He says, I'm Larry from Long Island. I said, Long Island? He goes, no. Long Island. It's one word. I'm like, gotcha, Larry. Know it. Got it. All right.
You blend right in Austin, I'm sure. Nobody notices.
Well, I say y'all a lot, so it seems to work out pretty well.
Yeah.
It's a transplant city, so it's not too bad. My accent used to be 10 times worse, so I'm glad I'm finding a middle ground. But
when you go back to Long Island, does it just come right out?
Oh yeah, my mom just starts going and yapping, and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, like how the hell you doing?" Like it just like it gets really ridiculous.
I love it. All right, so I cut you off because I wanted to get the Long Island's one word. We all know that now. All right, so you're Long Island in Austin, Texas now. What were you doing?
Yeah, so it's funny because my story, everyone always asks that, right? Where'd you start? And my journey was not linear in any regard, which is hilarious that I ended up in business because of all the different things that I had done prior to set me up for success now. So I actually went to school to be a teacher because like many people, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And my parents were like, just do what you're good at. You're good with kids. Go there. Graduated with like, I don't know how I'm going to make a living with this. Not really sure if it's for me. So then I took to so many different industries to kind of like see if I could find my home to kind of lay some ground roots in. I was a housekeeper, then a nanny, then I was in real estate. I went to Wall Street and did some work there. I was in tech. And then my longest and final kind of celebration, if you will, in corporate was I spent 3 years in asset management, which is super stuffy, the opposite of what I am right now. And then my final kind of role was in commercial real estate, which happened during COVID, which obviously not ideal because no one was working in offices. And then during that time, realized because I had a lot of time on my hand to think about it, I just decided to kind of dabble in some other things and then quit about 6 months later.
Rock on. Let's do this.
So when you just said quit, you meant like screw conventional society and all of its more. Yeah. So tell us a little, what do you mean quit?
Yeah. So basically, it's interesting you say that because when I first quit, it was like, oh, I'm going to quit the job. But then what ends up happening along the journey of being a quitter, as you both probably know, you have to quit a lot of other BS that comes with like the corporate conditioning that you had. So, I had a certain kind of ideals on how you live your life and kind of the check boxes you put on certain regards, right? Your finances, your relationship, all that stuff. And I completely, at some point within the past year, completely demolished all of that. So it was one thing to quit my actual job, but then to also quit the way that I go on a day-to-day basis and like function in this world is completely different than what I did a year ago, let alone a decade ago. So it's been a journey, dude.
So in your journey, so like, for example, hypothetically, you might be living in a country club with a golf course and have a second home and be driving a Mercedes and decide you want to quit. Is that kind of what you're
Just
saying?
hypothetically, Chris?
This is all hypothetical.
I mean, listen, I think
After
everyone's
coming off the Disney cruise and you tell you,
Hypothetical.
I'm out of here. This is all hypothetical.
Yeah.
Everyone's quitter's journey is completely different. I didn't plan on quitting. I knew that like entrepreneurship or like some sort of freelance type work might be in my future. But again, I thought it was like a decade later, not within 6 months time. Luckily through like, life's journey, it kind of molded me to be able to quit in such a way that it was perfect. Like I think like a year before that I had paid off all my student loans. So it was like, great, I don't have that debt, but I didn't pay that off because I wanted to quit. I just paid it off because that's what you do. Right. So I didn't know that a lot of the things I was doing was going to help me and kind of help me perfectly for where I was. But when I quit too, I didn't have a plan. It's not like I had a business or a side gig. I was just like this in this moment, this feels what's right for me. My parents think I'm fucking crazy. Everyone else does, but for whatever reason, it feels like it's the right time for me in my journey. And also at the time I realized I was drinking heavily. Like I was praying to get hit by a car. Like all those negative thoughts come in so that I couldn't go to work and sit next to my manager. And that's when I realized this isn't healthy. Like we need to leave. This isn't working. So, it was either we're going to stay and die or we're going to leave and maybe quote unquote die with whatever happens financially or whatever burning down, kind of happens in life.
You're kind of hitting Chris right in the nuts.
You are. But I haven't.
Why?
Because I'm still a heavy drinker. That's why we drink on the podcast, bro. That's why we do the. I actually, Gabby, you're doing something. That's why I'm so excited to have you on. You're doing something that I actually go back to high schools and talk to younger people. I said, I don't care how old you are to start a business. You can do this. You better have some plans, right? Do a business plan. Make sure you get your financials together. You know what? Talk to some people who might know how to do this. But I love where you started now because I did. I had everything. Everybody said it was the quote unquote, perfect lifestyle. I had success wrapped all around me, but I was so unfulfilled and hated it so much that I had to make it. I made mine a lot later in life than you did. So I love it that you were able to do what you did. You're counting on yourself, you're betting on yourself. And that's the best part is you get to go out there and bet on yourself and do what you're doing. What was the scariest part for you as you were doing this? Was there that scary part or you were so flipped over saying, I'm done. I'm not going to be a big drunk and I'm not going to get hit by a car. I'm going to go off and live life. So what was the scarier part of that or the scariest, I should say?
I think, and it's for a lot of people, surprisingly, I didn't know how I was going to spend my days. Because it's one thing if you quit and you have like a side hustle or like you have a focus, but for me to like come from a corporate environment where I was working 60 hours a week and I knew what I was working on. And if I wasn't working in my job, I was working on like my exercise routine, like cooking. Like I was so jam packed on a day-to-day basis that when all of a sudden I had nothing to do, I was like, I was mentally just like, I couldn't handle it. I was in a panic. And it really took me about 3 months to even come up with the idea of corporate quitter. And I tried every day to like flesh out an idea, but I wasn't in the headspace to have that idea kind of come in because I was so burnt out and was like still recharging. But I was panicking because no one tells you what to do when you quit and you like start your business. Like what you think might help you might not, and what you think doesn't help will. So if you don't have a guidebook or like a corporate track that tells you, okay, when you're an analyst, after 2 years, you could be a manager and then you can do this. When you don't have like a set schedule and there's no set plan, it's kind of, I was panicking. I was literally panicking.
And we're normally advising people to not do that. I mean, you just jumped out of a plane and I don't know if you knew you had a parachute on or not, but we're talking about, like in Chris's scenario, he knew he wanted to leave the corporate world and I call myself a refugee.
I don't call myself a quitter either. I'm going to let Gabby keep.
Yeah, no, I'm very interested in that. But, he went very methodically through a process of coming up with a business idea and then a business plan. And then when the timing was right, then he left and you just bailed.
Yeah.
And just let's see what happens.
Talk about pulling the ripcord, bro.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. Well, I've found in my experience in the past like decade of my life is that like the risk is equals to the reward. It might not be immediate, but anytime I've done something like wildly crazy or kind of shot out of left field, somehow it like transpires in a way that's kind of incredible, honestly, whether it's like the dream relationship I wanted or like getting the job that I desired or thought I wanted at the time. And in this case, right, jumping out of the plane led me to, you can see it behind me, like my New York Times article and being in the media and like getting in documentaries. So like you can call that coincidence, you can call it luck, or you can call it just sheer will, because I had no backup plan, right? So if I didn't have like anything else to lean on, it's either die or adapt. So in that case, when you have nothing to lose, like you have everything to lose and like everything to gain, or nothing to lose and everything to gain, like you just kind of say, YOLO, I'm going to do whatever it takes, which completely changes everything.
There's a big difference between quitting and giving up.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's exactly
Yeah.
right. Yeah, corporate quitter is not giving up. This was going off to live. I think that's actually, I'm going to do my shameless plug for my book, From the Zoo to the Wild, but that's one of my quotes. That's from Shawshank Redemption, is that you better get busy living or you're going to get busy dying. You got to get out there and go live. And I think when I did my leap, I did use a little bit of the, I have a safety net. Like I could go back, right? I think I could. And the fact of the matter is no way. And I was more fearful of going back. And
physically, you could have, but not mentally.
Mentally,
yeah.
People have talked about that. Like, oh, Chris, could you go back? I said probably for 6 months. Get a paycheck, get to sit in my office, have somebody else fix my computer, somebody else takes out my garbage, somebody else sets my schedule for me, and then after 6 months, I go, oh my God, I'm about to shoot myself. So they think they can, but you really can't. And you got to have that mindset to go out there if you want to be successful at this. And it's hard. We just got done talking to in the last episode that'll be airing the week before this. We just talked about somebody who said he quote unquote failed twice before he found his third one. It's really flipping hard to be successful, and you got to have that drive that you clearly you've got it, and you have to have those success habits, because you said something earlier that I want to key on. You paid off your student debts early, and you said, "Well, I don't know if that was a help or not." But it absolutely plays to, you had some success habits that you've already built about the way you ran your life. Character, exactly, about there. So as you did that, you're panicking, you're figuring it out. How did you, and what are you doing? What is it, the podcast only? Or are you doing other stuff? What's going down?
So like most people who just start businesses, like you're kind of just throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. So like I've been doing this for a year and a half now, and though predominantly I lean into podcasting and I try to get sponsorship, and I do a lot of things through brand deals. And the great thing too is I use an omni-channel marketing approach, which brands love, right? Because the whole job of doing marketing is to get that brand, or whatever it is, out to as many people as possible. So a podcast is only one avenue. It's through like audio or visual learners, right? But then there's social media, and then there's newsletters. There's all these different avenues where certain people listen or watch or obtain information to different things. So for example, like my brother, he predominantly gets all of his information from YouTube. I don't care about YouTube. I'll go on TikTok or I'll read a book. He won't read a book. Now we may be the same, right? We're millennials. We're both around the same age. Like we come from Long Island. Like we're kind of both in the same demographic, but we take on information in different ways. So my brain was like, how do we make anything omni-channel, reading multiple avenues of marketing for these brands? And it's been working. So I'll pair together, strategies for my podcasting. So, okay, I'll do a social media thing and I'll put you in my newsletter, and then I'll actually have you on the podcast. And that's been working. But to kind of supplement when things have been slow in terms of the sponsorship and stuff, it's been through affiliate marketing. I've done courses. I've created digital products like ebooks. I've even done, you're going to laugh. So for season 2 of my show, I'm getting into really convoluted, weird things in business. So, right, there's one thing to like start an Etsy store or like be a coach. And there's another things to like be in the NFT space or like be on OnlyFans. And of course, naturally, everyone's like, I want to learn about that because like I want to know what's about those things too. So in July, we experimented with selling feet pics as a joke, which ended up blowing up. Yeah, literally blowing up because people are curious.
On.
And I ended up
Why did you think of that, Chris?
Feet pics? Are you?
I know.
Your feet look
Come
like
on, you're shitting me. So
no, I'm so serious. I did it as a
pictures.
joke. I posted on my Twitter, and I have like 100 Twitter followers. I was just like telling everyone, hey, I think this is where the podcast is headed. Literally was getting dudes. Apparently there's a whole thing on Twitter like having to do with that stuff. And I was getting messages, hey, you're selling feet pics. And I was like, all I was doing was making an announcement that I was pivoting my podcast. And so what ended up happening is
it's foot porn.
basically
is that okay?
Basically. So like, again, like I don't want to go too out of left field, but like in business, you have to pivot. And if there an opportunity is there, in this case, someone wanted to buy a freaking picture of my foot, fine, I'll sell it to you and I'll document the process, tell it to my audience. And then you know what? They were asking me for step-by-step guide. So then I created a guide on it. So I was making money in 3 different ways from a stupid tweet that I did. And now I don't do that anymore. It was just a July thing. But
Chris,
like,
take your shoes off.
There's no way.
Yeah,
You don't want to smell that.
that.
Here in our podcast studio
Look like
in
Frodo.
lovely Atlanta. Yeah, there's no way people are. Although,
So is that the thing that just caught everybody's attention? Was this? It was like a publicity stunt almost, right?
But
Or
I
was
didn't do it on purpose. I just did it as like, hey guys, this is where the podcast is headed. What's your feedback, right? Because I always ask my audience, what do you want to learn? Like, who do you want to hear? What topics do we want to talk about? Whatever. And then that happened. I didn't even get a response from my audience. I got response from these random people. And then I was able through TikTok to do this whole thing. Not my proudest moment, but it was very interesting. It was very interesting.
I'm interested. It's so funny because what did I do? I'm going to go out there and be a handyman. Yeah. How are you going to make your millions? $80 an hour. Yeah. How you doing? 14 years later. Okay. How were those first 4 years? Fucking blow.
The first couple of years
and if
suck.
I knew, I could have just taken pictures of my feet. No, I'm just no way. But no, that's cool. I actually we're joking, but that's the kind of stuff you got to keep trying things because I've talked about this when I first started my business. I would do anything to anybody at any time as a handyman. You know, hey, Chris, can you guys build my house? Absolutely. Can you put up a roof? Absolutely. Today, we don't even touch that stuff. You know, I've got 32 employees and we run around, but we found our niche. We found where we're working, but you got to try this stuff. You got to do trial and error. And that's what, obviously you're trying that. That's awesome.
I know it's wild, but you know, same here. I was doing consulting. I was doing coaching, like anything anyone requested of me that I felt was within my wheelhouse. So yeah, sure. Let's do it. And I'll see if I like it. And if I don't, you know, like whatever. And it's interesting because now we're pivoting to be more entertainment based. So because I've done so much stuff in TV, now it's like, maybe I'm going to go into acting. I started taking vocal lessons. Like we're just kind of leaning into what opportunities are coming up. And I have a documentary that's apparently going live this month, which is going to change a lot of things. So just, you know, fun stuff.
Yeah. You are having too much fun.
So what was it that caught the national attention? And well, I'll start with that, and then I want to go back into how did you learn about podcasting?
Yeah. So and how to get national attention. So part of it was just I had been sharing very vulnerably across social. So everyone's on social now. Everyone's trying to sell their shit, right? But it's all blowing smoke up your ass, or it's like ads. Like it's not really this storytelling type of component. And so me actually harnessing that and then truthfully telling people, this is how much money I had. This is how much money I was making. This is what's currently going on. I mean, my audience has seen me cry, tears, snot dripping down my face. They see me during my wins. So to share that journey, like in a way that's storytelling instead of selling, worked really, really well with my audience.
You know, you're right, because you know the whole thing with social media is everybody's putting their best foot forward. They're always, oh, look at us on our cruise to Greece.
It's fucking horseshit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not real.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at you, Chris.
I was not at Greece this year. I did not post that, but I only post good
you were
stuff.
In Barcelona.
I was in Barcelona. Yeah. That's true. And on my way to the President's Cup this weekend. But don't. It's not about me, Alan. It's not about me.
You need to be. Maybe you need to be more vulnerable, Chris.
Well, all right. You know what?
I want snot coming out of your nose.
Trust me. There's been a lot of tears and blood. In fact, there a lot of blood because one of the things my intern was following me around, and I had to go look at a deck where we had pulled it back and it's just completely rotted. Next thing you know, I'm up there and my guy's like, all right, now what? I said, all right, let me go look. I have my feet dangling up in the deck. He has to pull me back because I fell into the deck. I'm looking at something. All you can see is my feet dangling in the air. So I'll get vulnerable, everybody.
Now that would go viral. I think.
It wasn't that bad. I make it sound better than it was, but well, it was stupid. But
it sounds really funny though. I would watch it.
All right, thank you.
So you're basically you're being vulnerable and people are tuning in because maybe they're going to catch a bit of a train wreck or something like that. Is there a little bit of that aspect to it?
Part of it is the like entertainment aspect, right? There has to be a little bit of that, but also it's just like the whole reason your audience follows you is because there's something that either you have to teach them, you're entertaining them, or it's like serving as inspiration. So in the case of me quitting and like the Great Resignation that started before I even like I mean, after I started the podcast, it was before like I started it before it became a trend, which is super cool and wild. But the fact that people who were wanting to quit could find someone who was actually doing it was like a relief to them because they're like, oh my God, I'm not alone. So if you're able to tell people like, hey, I'm here, like follow me if you kind of want to go on the journey with me or like actually experience a real life scenario in whatever niche you're in, like, hell yeah, I'm going to sign up for it because we've been sold to for, I don't know, since the 70s in a bullshit way. So, just kind of flipping the switch and making it relatable is really important.
I don't even know where to start because she's right. I mean, being able to show that stuff off is key. And, obviously she's found a niche. She quit before it was sexy, and damn it, we did too.
Well, so and that's why I brought up the fact that she quit, but she didn't give up. And when I think of the Great Resignation, I don't know if there is a technically, mutually agreed upon definition of it, but I kind of feel like it has more of a give up component to it. You didn't give up. I mean, you just decided to forge your own path, and you're doing it with alarming speed. It's fantastic.
Like I said, the risk.
I mean, you're the American dream. I love it.
Not yeah. Like it's funny you say that because on the outside it looks like it, but of course internally I'm like dealing with my own shit.
Well, that's the nature of the entrepreneur. You're smiling to everybody else, and you look in the mirror and your eyes are throwing up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
basically.
I've been at this for 14 years, going on 15, and everybody goes, "Man, look at you! You're so successful." Let me tell you about those first 4 years because I started in 2008, and if you don't remember what that was, that's when
that was a big time party fun time.
Oh, that was big time party fun time.
Fucking terrible.
Exactly.
I wasn't even an adult when that happened, and it was terrible for me. So I can't imagine as an adult with responsibilities.
How about an adult who told his entire family and his wife, "Hey, don't worry, baby. I got this figured out. I'm going to make $1 million a year in 3 years." That was my business plan. 2008, I start April of 2008. I sold my Mercedes, bought 2 vans, put myself in a van. I'm a pretty handy guy, so I went out there and started doing the handyman stuff with another guy. Doing it, and then I started building my team. But it took 4 years for us to actually get going. I started breaking even in 26 months, but I can promise you, I was making new money for 4 years. And my wife's like, "What are you doing?" And I was curled up on the couch at 3:30 in the morning, going, "What have I just done to myself?" My family, they were like, "But Dad, you're doing great. You're doing what you love, So outwardly, I looked really happy. And then when they go to bed, I just sit there, work till like 1:00 in the morning and then sit there and just stare into the abyss going, what have I just done to everybody?
And like, you can't get off the train once you're on it. So you're like you said before, I can't go back to corporate. I could, but I would be dying inside, or I would piss the boss off because I dropped too many F-bombs, or like, it just wouldn't work. So it's like, we've come so far. Like, I can't give up now just because you have credit card debt again, or because you don't know what direction you're in, or you're pivoting or changing this, or like employee got fired or left or whatever it is. Like, you just have to keep going.
Yeah, one of the things that I would say it's pretty similar in the career path or what you're doing and what I did is that you get out there and you get rolling, and outwardly you're looking successful, but inwardly you're like, man, am I a fraud? Am I faking this? I mean, can I actually pull this shit off? But what you find out about yourself is that you truly are a problem solver. And to Alan's point earlier, you're digging hard, you're persevering, and you're optimistic. Because in corporate America, we were trained not to be optimistic. We were trained to toe the corporate line and be a realist. And that's what I used to say. I'm a realist. But I found out I was optimistic and I stuck with it. Probably more than I should have, longer than I should have, but I did it. And that's what you're doing. I love that spirit.
Yeah. Trying. I'm definitely being tested, which is really fun. But, I'm just hopeful that I'll have a really good underdog story when I eventually decide to write a book in, like, I don't know, 5 years or so. So just hoping for that moment.
At the rate you're going, I think you're going to write a book by next year. Yeah, I guess. So do you have mentors that you lean on? I mean, you don't have the long history of war wounds that Chris and I have when we talk about business on our podcast, and that, we've learned all of our lessons the absolute hardest way possible. Where are you relying on for your knowledge?
So it's interesting because when I was first thinking about entrepreneurship, like years ago, before I actually quit, I was relying on like books from Amazon and like free stuff on YouTube, which is still great. It's not bad, but I realized I wasn't making nearly enough progress to actually be an entrepreneur unless I put some serious money down into like a consultant or a business group or like going back to school, something. So I was just doing the numbers the other day. I can't remember the exact number, but I think from about 2015, when I really started to dig into like my own personal development journey and just learning from other people or, consultants, was to now probably like 50 grand. I've spent a serious amount of money on understanding business and also understanding myself to make the best decisions for my personal journey, as opposed to like what my mom and dad want for me. And I've done a lot of crazy things to like get to the level of where I'm at. But in terms of focusing on like one specific person, because I evolve so quickly, especially at this point with business, I will focus on one person or one kind of mentor or celebrity or whoever it is for like a season, like either a quarter or maybe 6 months. And then I end up pivoting because I'm progressing so rapidly. So, last year, I think I was looking more towards like people who were in like online businesses. And now it's more of like, let me look at actors because that's where I'm heading. So it changes.
Holy cow. You are really pivoting. Yeah, I love that. So when we talk mentors, we found people that I'm in a monthly group of other CEOs. We get together, we get to process issues, be vulnerable, talk about things. In fact, I joked the other day when I was with these guys is that they actually know more about my business than my wife does, because I tell them more about that, because the definition of being an entrepreneur is, or one of the definitions is, when did you first start lying to your wife? The day you started your business. Because right now it's, hey, how was your day today? Great.
Yeah.
Because every time I brought up anything else, like another guy goes to jail at the business, hypothetically, she goes, well, why did you fire him? I'm like, I can't even get a hold of the guy. I can't fire him. I can't fire everybody, man. I got 32 people, but I got a great team. So we were talking about like that. Do you have somebody who's kind of guiding you along that journey? Or
that's what she's saying, though, right? You've got people that guide you, but
so you got somebody.
They change really, really quickly. So like
you're working with somebody now to say, okay, this is how you get into the entertainment industry and do acting and all that stuff.
Not yet. So that realization came about a month ago. So I've been doing vocal lessons. That was like my foot in. Like, I'm like, okay, before I shell out the big bucks for like an actual acting coach or like whatever it is, let me like do vocal lessons and see if I like being in front of a mic. And I obviously do, but like in a different regard. I even was on a panel in August. So like there was a lot of movement of just like being like having an appearance, kind of like appearance fees and things like that. So now that I'm recognizing that, I've actually been considering like, do I move to LA? Like, do I have to go to a different place to do casting calls? Like, what does it look like for the business? Do we pivot? Do we still keep it? So it's very, very new, but it's really funny because I just met someone at a wedding romantically, and he lives in San Diego, which is 2 hours from LA. So the stars
like
may be aligning. Yeah.
I was just about to say, Gabby, you need to come to Atlanta, because I thought we were like one of the biggest movie.
We produce more movies here than LA.
Yeah, that's what I've heard actually. Yeah. Like the production companies might be based in LA, New York, or Chicago, but like Atlanta's a big one. I think Austin, where I'm living, is actually a good spot for shooting, but I think I'm just wanting to get to where like the big bucks are, kind of. But I'm just starting that journey. So I'm actually wrapping up. I had a year-long mastermind with a group that was specifically geared towards like business and online, like, that way, like, oh, you create a Udemy or like a Skillshare account, and then you like create a course and all that stuff. And that was really great. And there were some other things embedded in there, like mindset and health and stuff. And then along the way, I was doing smaller masterminds. Like I worked with a coach for like 2 months, and I did this one on specific things, did some therapy here and there. So it really depends on what my needs are, either in the moment, like that month, or again, that stage of this season. But now that I'm again finishing up with this business group, I'll probably seek out something related to acting.
Help me out as an old man on this one, because you said I worked with a coach for 2 months, and I worked with a coach for 2 years. I worked with a coach years ago. I worked with another coach for 2 years, and then I've been in this mastermind group or our CEO group for 5 years. How do you do it in like just 2 months? Because I felt like I had to make a connection and build it up. How do you do that? And what are you looking for? And do you drive the conversation? I mean, I got tons of questions because I need to do this.
So I think part of it is just, I know myself to be on the fast track. So once I have like something in mind that I need to work on and I'm aware of it, I'm just like, just do it. Now, also, but the great thing about podcasting is, as you know, you get connected to some of the coolest people. So almost all of my guests that I've had on my show, like the lawyer that I interviewed is now my lawyer. Like someone that I interviewed for business, she was my business coach for 2 months. So it just so happened that she she was experimenting with a new sort of program and different parameters. And I was eager for a coach. And she was like, I see so much potential in you. I'm working on this new thing. I'll give you a reduced price. It's 2 months. This is when it ends, and we'll go from there. And it worked out pretty well. It got rid of some limiting beliefs that I had and set the foundation for, at the time I was still functioning in hobby mode. And then I needed to like put my CEO cap and like actually take the business seriously when we started going viral. So she helped with that a lot, but it depends. Cause years ago I had to do programs that were much longer. And then I realized like life is short. I want to do this shit today. Like I want to get it over with, like rip the Band-Aid off. So I was like, how can I do this as quick as possible? And sometimes you need time. That's the solution. And other times you don't. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it just so happened that that's how that worked out.
What were some of the limiting beliefs that she worked you through?
I had a big problem with looking stupid. For me as a woman, it was like, you should be pretty, right? And seek out like a husband. Like that's kind of what's been drilled into my head for forever. And if you're pretty, then you can't be smart. And there was this like limiting belief about me not being smart because I'm pretty or good looking or whatever it is. So
Chris, you don't need to write that down because I'm just telling you,
I was just taking
you're
notes.
not pretty.
I just realized I have a self-limiting belief as well. Is that I'm struggling with my own good looks, and people need to accept me for my intelligence, Alan. I know. No, I'm writing down. All right, I'm writing this down because
it's awesome
because that's the last thing I thought about myself.
The fact that she's talking about, accepting the fact that she could be pretty and smart, and then you start writing. I kind of had to call that out.
I was writing this down, but I'm writing it down going, wow, I never thought about that because that never once crossed my mind. Is that people don't accept me for me because they look at me too much. They think I'm an object. No. But all right,
so keep going. This is awesome. It's really interesting because the people that listen to our podcast are people that maybe want to leave the corporate world, or they maybe are new in their own business, and there's just all this self-doubt, and sometimes your own mind is your biggest obstacle. So keep going on this. I love it.
Yeah. So when it came to looking smart, like you think that, okay, if you're smart and you portray yourself as smart, people will want to throw money at you, right? Which at the time I was like, I need to make money in my business. So of course, if I don't believe in myself or think that I'm smart and capable, like at a deep rooted level, obviously people are going to see it too, right? You can sniff out bullshit on people just as much as you can sniff out their own insecurities. So that was one of the starting points. And then over time, it's just been other things like the conversation of worthiness and deservingness. Like I had to have the big talk with myself of like, do I actually believe that as a human being, my level of like deservingness equates to how much I could be productive during the day? Or can I just be deserving of a good life because I exist?
Ooh,
which is a deep one.
Really
which is deep. Yeah. So
I just wrote that down and I crossed it out, went too deep.
Yeah. No.
I can't do that. It's not mentally, it's over my head. Yeah. No,
it was deep, and it took me months to really get through it. But now
this is where you're being completely authentic, and that's why I was writing this down. Was that it's funny is that if you would have said to people who are probably not as attractive, maybe are overweight.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Well, you're not overweight. A little bit. You're over tall.
Yeah, I am over tall.
He is a tall guy.
Wait, how tall are you?
6'6".
Wow, shit, I'm 4'11". So good thing we're not in the same studio right now because you would just be a giant.
The camera would have to be on an angle.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Ellen and I went to a football game a couple weeks ago, and I was walking around with him. And I'm 6'2", and I'm like, oh my God, I had a lot of friends who are taller than me, but it's been a while since I was just walking around with Ellen somewhere. I was like, oh my God, I am short. I'm like, this is weird. I'm not used to it. But going back to it again, the self-doubt, we all have it. And just a lot of people don't recognize it. And having that self-belief, I mean, you just said it. You obviously you say, I got attractiveness. I'm a pretty gal. People will follow that, but I'm not allowed to be smart. Okay. And then also I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to fail in front of people. Mm-hmm. That is also one that is hard for a lot of people, because you don't want to say I'm a failed entrepreneur, which we've talked about before, or you know what?
You're looking at me again, and I have.
I mean, we've all failed. Like when I did real estate, I completely failed and I lost my apartment, and that was at 22 years old. I had already had a huge failure under my belt.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was a sucky situation. It actually could have been better, but I learned the lesson of like, you're not going to die if shit hits the fan very early on.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, that is the most important thing, I think, for an entrepreneur to find. And we actually, I wanted to talk about this on our last episode because that guy had failed horribly twice, and he was in Vegas, upside down 100 grand. And the fact is one of the things a good entrepreneur learns is failure isn't going to kill you. You're still going to be okay. You're not going to miss a meal, and you can learn from these mistakes, and you can get better. And actually, once you learn that failing is okay, then you're not afraid of it anymore. And it is an limiting factor.
Exactly. And once you learn to regulate your nervous system so you don't react to stress, things that would put you in a spiral years ago, you're just laugh about it. And people think you're crazy, but you laugh about it and you move on. So, that's really fun. But the self-doubt definitely still creeps in at times, especially because I'm the leader in this of saying hey, quit your job. But if I don't have the results yet of a multi 6-figure business and all of this stuff, how could I at the same time encourage you to quit other than the fact that I'm happier and I like where I'm at and shit's pretty good, even though it's not amazing just yet.
Well, as a guy who has, at this point, 14 years into it, I'm not bragging. I'm just going we're $5.5 million projected this year in revenue. I'm that 6-figure.
Congrats.
Thanks.
It takes a lot of hard work. So you should.
But trust me, this bro sits on the couch sometimes and has that self-doubt, and it creeps in fast. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh my God, what have I done? Cash flow's down this month. What the hell happened? Oh my God, I got to dip in my line of credit. Happened this year, by the way, because we hadn't been collecting.
And you thought you were so far past that. And then when it happens, it's devastating.
And I'm right back at it. Yeah. I'm like, holy shit, I did this the first freaking year, man. I mean, I've told this story before, but I had to run to the bank and get the bank check in from a customer on Thursday night so I could make payroll on Friday. And so I've never missed payroll in 14 years. Very proud of that. But you don't know you're running a business until I made it there at 4:28. They were going to lock the door and I came running in. And I'm like, I got to have this check in because I got to write checks in the morning to all my guys. Because if you don't pay people, guess who doesn't show up? They don't show up.
No.
So it doesn't matter what stage you're in. If we all have that self-doubt. I mean, we joke about it, but it is true. And it happens a lot. And you've got to get yourself out of that mode. And that's why I was writing this down is that, everybody thinks everybody else is always tonning it. I love going to networking events with their contractors, and the guys who just absolutely want to blow smoke up your ass or tell you how great they are too, just, how's it going? Oh man, I'm killing it, bro. And I'm going to give you my best Southern accent right now. But you know what? I'm just doing my best ever. I just can't. I got so much work. I don't even know where to go with it. And you're like, you lying sack of shit.
Well, not only that, but don't you just not want to talk to those people? People come up to you who are like, hey, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but shit's good. And they're like, oh my God, you sound so interesting. What's going on? Tell me. You're actually more interested in people who are living like real fucking humans with real problems than the people who are high and dry in the sky. I don't care. You can go sit in your fancy car with your fake bank account screenshots. I don't give a shit. I don't. It's ridiculous. I can't relate to you anyway.
Yeah. No, like I said, I don't, and you can take it because after 14 years, you go, hey, congratulations, mountaintop of success. You got there. No, I don't think so. Yes, I'm enjoying myself a lot more, but literally
a lot more.
But I had to pay a lot of prices along the way, Alan. Just remember that.
Are you saying you're deserving now?
You know what? Actually, I wrote that down too. I actually wrote down, I deserve more. No, I did not. I am having a good time. In fact, one of the questions we asked in our mastermind group is, are you having fun right now? And I'm going to ask you that. Are you having fun right now?
On this podcast? Yeah, actually, it's really refreshing. But just in general, what's interesting?
Wait till their social media comes out. I was with these two ancient dudes.
No, I have to say this is one of the best shows I've been on. This is fun as fuck. In my life. So the interesting thing is I'm going back now and going through reflection mode of am I happy? Right? Do I find that I'm successful? All that stuff. Now my version of happiness has completely changed. So am I happy? Hell yeah. Cause I wake up and I don't have to be, my schedule isn't jam-packed. Most of my day revolves around painting and cooking and going on long walks and doing these things that normally would be put on the back burner. And now work is secondary for me. And I prefer it to be like that. And it's really nice. So yeah, I'm happy, but I definitely have a long ways to go.
What's your definition?
But the next couple
of
months
success?
are really cool.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. What is your definition of success?
Or what is your definition of success?
Wait, what is your definition?
What is your definition of success?
Who phrased it the best?
Yeah.
So right now, presently, my version of success is literally just having fun, Like what you said before, like, are you having fun? Like, yeah, I'm having fun. If there's something that I feel that I have to do out of obligation, whether it's for money or because I feel like I need to be in front of a certain audience or whatever it is, we don't do it. Like, fuck that. I'm not in that space at all of any sort of obligation. If it's not a fuck yes, 100%, it's a fuck no. That is the only way I live now.
I think that's
And
a t-shirt.
it is. It's not a new phrase. I didn't make it up, but it just after
really?
like that really registering, I from everything to the people I hang out with to the people that I date to the things that I do on my day-to-day basis. If I'm not even I'm slightly don't want to do it, I don't do it. We're not doing that.
So you've gotten better at saying no.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I guess you're from New York, in Long Island. New York, yeah, Long Island, Long Island,
closer,
Long Island.
You know, maybe you should get a coach here on how to say Long Island.
Maybe I don't know.
For God's sakes,
Long Island.
Right. It's one. There. See, thank you.
New Yorkers are much better at saying no right out of the gate. You know, the rest of us are like, well, maybe.
Oh, come on. You've talked about this before, though. Once you get to know a New Yorker and you're in,
oh yeah, they're crusty on the outside and all gooey on the inside.
You said
it's
that.
very true. Yeah. It's very true.
So all my family's from Western New York and Buffalo, and we're Italian in nature as well. And so, well, I grew up in Michigan. When he first met me, he said the same thing. He goes, "Boy, you just remind me of these guys," and because I come across pretty hard, pretty quick, and he said, "But once you get in there,
yeah, you're friends with everybody that you know."
That's right, baby.
Yeah,
I am. I love it. Yeah, but you got to get in first.
Yep.
And definitely, fuck yes, fuck no. I'm actually going to put. I'll
tell you what. He's taking a lot more notes today than normal.
Yeah, I feel like hair flip. Like
hair flip.
Doing good.
Oh my god,
I would too. But we're both old and bald. All right, all right. So we hit the success stuff. But what we didn't talk about a little bit more is because we're going to wrap up a little bit. She talked about a really big term called omnichannel, and one of the things we've talked about on this podcast quite a bit is marketing, and both you and I have done a lot of marketing and all the stuff we've done, and feel like we have a pretty good handle on. Always willing to get better, but listening to what she does and how she does it, talk a little bit more about. Did you have a strategy omni-channel that you were going for, and do you have a certain theme other than being your authentic self? I mean, that's obviously coming through in volumes, but did you have an approach that you wanted to follow to get these people, and are you changing it? And talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah. So last year was kind of just like, again, throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what worked. And I realized a couple months later that I was actually doing this omni-channel approach, not realizing that I was, and that it was working. Now this year, because the Great Resignation has slowed down and I'm pivoting, obviously my marketing is kind of pivoting as well. So what I've been doing now that I have like the clout, so to speak, right? I have the media and I have the followers, right? We set the foundation of what people can expect from me and what they are like kind of they know or is going to come from me. Is now working with people who are also large and doing collaborations. So for example, like you might have heard of Salary Transparent Street. They're a huge brand now. They just started in April. They basically go around interviewing people on the street to actually find out salaries in every location. So they literally fly to like that state or city and they actually will interview people live on the street. Now, funny enough, her and her fiance, they both quit because of my platform, lo and behold. And now they have like 1 million followers and they're like big. So of course she's like, hey girl, I'm doing this thing because of you. And like, look at all the success that I'm having. So naturally, of course, I want to flock to people who've either found inspiration from what I've done and nurture those connections farther, as well as podcast guests that I was on with, or like doing different things in different ways. Because right now she has an audience and I have an audience, though somewhat similar. We bring them together, make a baby, in whatever capacity it looks like, whether it's new podcasts or new platform or whatever it might be. It's a lot better than kind of just like starting over. And also I think people forget that you can pivot at any time because it's your platform and you call the shots. So for me, that was a hard thing to learn at the beginning of this year because I didn't feel like sharing in the same way. But now, you know, I'm able to kind of flip flop a little bit between like, I don't want to say lifestyle, but like sharing more of the things that go on behind the scenes, like painting and these like girly things that I do. And I was sharing my dating updates and people were loving it because it's more than just this one facet. It's a whole lifestyle, if you will.
Got it. Wow. That's a lot to take in because regardless of what your business is or what you're doing, you have a target market. You don't even know it's there yet. You're throwing spaghetti against the wall, which you said, you know, I came at it very methodically, had 4 different avatars that I had developed to target market too. But when I started the business, we had websites. That was it. We didn't have this thing called Google. We didn't have these other things. Facebook had just come out because
it's fire.
I had fire.
Yeah,
Does I make fire?
because you made fire.
I make fire. Thank you, Grog. But we had telephone books.
Yeah,
Do you even know what those were?
I did. They were around when I was young. Come on. I used to go to the library and get all my resources from there before Google existed.
Yes.
I'm not too young.
Oh, thank God.
How much are you engaging with your followers?
Recently, not that much. And the only reason why I did that was because I was in a bit of I don't want to say a downward spiral, but I was in a rest period, which I'm sure both of you have experienced in life, where sometimes you just need to be quiet,
I'm
do
guessing
work.
your rest period's like 30 minutes, though. I mean,
No,
you
well,
just,
this
you're
one
moving
was
so
really
fast.
long,
Yeah.
which I hated.
Like
This
2
one
hours?
was so long.
Oh.
This one was like months, like really long.
Wow.
Well, I just like a lot of stuff have happened after my media tour happened. So my boyfriend at the time wasn't thrilled with what happened, which is surprising. So we broke up. So to go through that breakup, and then like I'm moving and like business is changing, like there were just a lot of changes that were rocking me at the same time that forced me to go into like hermit mode and get serious about like, where are we going? What are we doing? Who even are we if we're not dating anyone or with these friends anymore? So the past couple of months have been a bit rough. So my audience, they've been at a kind of like touch and go, or in different ways I've been engaging with them. Like I said, like through like showing them the feet pics thing and doing more lifestyle sharing as opposed to business sharing, because they didn't know where the business was at. But now we're picking things up again, which is cool.
That's awesome. It's funny you went through that. I think so number one, my attention
How did you
span
feel after your book tour?
My book tour was a little short. I'm a little down. I did not have a quiet period though. I went to the, let's see, what was here? Fuck yes, fuck no. So I had the attention span of a goldfish, and my down periods are just 2 goldfish periods long, and then I have to get back up and get rolling again. Yeah. Because it is. I mean, again, counseling, therapy, yes, been through it all. Continue. Still need it. Still struggling. But as you go through all that, you've got to pick yourself back up. You got to go after it. You got to be optimistic. I mean, that's the thing. Like, wake up in the morning and you're like, you know what? I got problems to solve today, and damn it, I'm the first guy to do it.
I got one more question for you. So when you quit and you started this, and you probably didn't realize how big it would get, but the whole time you're just thinking about, what do I need to do for me? And now you've got this big audience. Do you feel this obligation that you not only need to take care of you, but you need to take care of them too?
I think so. Yeah. There's this deep wanting to serve them. Like I've been wanting to since I started all this. Like there was at one point people were like, well, I want to quit and I want help, but like I can't afford to work one-on-one with you. Do you have a resource or something? And I was trying to come up with a lot of different ways to do it. And even now I don't have a full picture of what that would look like, other than the idea of a quitter starter pack. But there are so many layers to it. It's kind of hard as one individual to create one specific thing. There's a lot of things that you can do to help people quit, but it's been a serious panic of mine this past 9 months, because I now have this huge media coverage and all of these followers, and I want to be able to help them. That's the whole reason why I'm doing this. And a podcast has been great, but I definitely have been like eager and wanting to give them more, but we're still in that phase of trying to figure that out. But I will say a lot of different opportunities have come my way to possibly give them a solution, but it just wasn't the perfect one quite yet.
So one more follow-up question. So you've mentioned the acting thing a couple of times. So let's say you move to LA and all of a sudden you hit it. Are you taking all of this with you? Are you taking all these people with you? Or is that conceivably just going to be that chapter in your life closes and this door opens and you're no longer focusing on your social media content?
Dude, I wish I had the answer. That's been like my question for the past 2 months.
All right, let me put this on you then. Don't leave us, Lady Gaga. Bring the little monsters with you.
I mean, I was planning on taking everyone with me if they would have me. Because also I've heard from just business and people who do things in the entertainment space, you're always better off like cultivating your audience and then giving them something, that like selling them something, versus having something to sell but no one to sell to, right? So at least I have people who are interested in either myself as an individual or kind of like corporate quitter and that whole notion. And corporate quitter, I'm just rebellious as fuck. So naturally that whole framing will always be part of me. It just may come in a different form. But I hope that like take them on the journey of at least saying, hey, guess what? This is where I started, and look where you can be if you just kind of throw yourself out there and see where you can go. Because if you asked me a year ago, would you be acting, let alone, do you think you'd be shot by the New York Times? Be like, you're fucking crazy. Because I didn't plan for this at all. I had no idea. No idea.
So can I get some makeup tips on when I get shot to the New York Times for my book tour? No, I love it.
Yes,
you
lots of it.
What? Easy. I know.
We already established you're not pretty.
I'm not. That's why I have a face for radio. That's why I'm on the radio here in Atlanta. Okay. All right. Gab, I love how you're doing this. And I do. I see, obviously, I see great things for you as I sit there and look at my crystal ball of the world that's happening. But I can see how the pivots happen. I can see how it continues to transform. And 10 years from now, the corporate quitter moniker may not be there, but it'll be that corporate avenger or that, the entrepreneur avenger as I go through and I do things that I'm doing in my life, whatever it may be. I still think your followers will be there. So,
I mean, you're going through life like a meteor.
It's really fast, dude. It's
Yeah.
like, it's cool, but it's terrifying at the same time because just when I take my breath and then we let go and then I breathe again. And it's a lot.
It is a lot. And you're taking it in, you're doing it all. I mean, you failed at 22 and I wasn't willing to take that risk at 22. You talked about that. It took me till 37s when I started my business. And I felt like at that point, finally, I had it because, again, a pragmatic thought process, got to do it this way. And, I didn't have that. I mean, I had the entrepreneurial spirit. My grandmother, my grandfather both did it. And my dad didn't, but I always wanted to start my own business, but I was so fearful. And the thing that actually threw me over the edge was, of course, a boss hole. But the second thing was, man, at 60 years old, I did not want to tell people, I said corporate America made a ton of money and sat there and did nothing for anybody. And I wanted to be able to tell people that I went out there and started a business and have 32 employees. I have impact 32 families. That gives me a lot of fulfillment. Now, again, where you're at in your arc and your career, you back up in mind, that would not have been my story in my 20s, nor in my early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
It was all about, hey, look at me, I'm Mr. Successful. And hey, follow me, if we had social media back then. So I think that the arc continues and the evolution continues. So you are going through like a meteor. You're right. Take a breath and enjoy sometimes and set yourself back and don't have the attention span like a goldfish like me. Sometimes it served me well.
It's what makes you special.
Oh, thank you for calling me special again, Alan. I appreciate that.
I think we're seeing a praise kink right now in Chris.
Yeah, he called me special. Usually
he flipped his hair figuratively.
Yeah. When he calls me special, that means actually you idiot. But all right, we're coming to the end. And Gabby, we've so enjoyed having the corporate quitter on here.
It's been awesome.
So how can everybody get back into your system? Tell everybody how to find you. We're going to put in the show links and we'll get that all taken care of as well.
Yeah, of course. You guys can find me at corporatequitter.com and of course across all social, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, mostly under the Corporate Quitter handle.
Awesome. And I do follow her. If you haven't followed her, it is real. It's authentic. It is great to watch. It actually inspires me on some of the stuff we do here at the Trusted Toolbox and the Home Service Institute. It's great stuff. We love it, but we can't let you leave without asking my favorite 3 questions. Let's get after it. Here we go. Dim the lights. Here we go. Number 1, what is the favorite feature of your house?
Literally my bathtub. You're going to laugh about it. But
no, I'm not.
It's my favorite feature. Coming from New York, where we had really shitty apartments and roach infested places, like to have a nice bathtub that you can like soak in and use wasn't there. So now moving to Austin, I have this giant tub and I'm 4'11". So it's like literally it's like a swimming pool for me. It's the shit. I love it. It's the best.
All right. What's your favorite? What's your favorite bath salt in? Or what's your favorite?
That's not one of the 3.
Dr. Teal's hemp
let's go.
Liquid with I want bubbles everywhere. It's got I got
my wife. My wife soaks every night in our tub. That is absolutely her favorite feature of the house. We put a tub in with the bubbles in it, and I paid an insane amount of money for it. We remodeled it, but she has Dr. Teal's
worth every penny.
Yeah, it is.
Best.
Because I can send her in there so I can watch sports at night.
Happy wife, happy life. That's all I want is a bathtub.
Amen.
That's literally all I want.
I love it. Cheers to that. All right, number 2. We are customer service freaks. Thank you, Alan. And we love to talk about customer service. So tell us about a customer service pet peeve of yours.
So it might be kind of ridiculous, but I hate when people pronounce my name wrong. So my full name is Gabrielle, or it sometimes comes up as Gabby, and they will call me Gabriel, and it annoys the shit out of me. I'm like, I clearly look like a girl. Don't call me that. Like, I don't even sound like a boy, and it's so frustrating. It's such a stupid thing.
No.
But it just
I
100%
agree with you. And my pet peeve is it's more pathetic when I send somebody a text or an email and if my name is in it and then they respond and then misspell my name. And I'm like, my name was right there in print. All you had to do is just copy that and it's so disrespectful.
So as long as I spell it right, I can call you Alon. No,
Yeah, sure. You can put a little your French twist to
Yeah,
it
I'm
if
not
it
even
makes you
French.
happy. Alon.
That's so funny. I have because my last name is Lalomia, and I know you have a big Italian name as well, Gabby. But I've trained my entire team. Don't ever try to say somebody's last name because every time
No.
somebody
I
comes up
learned
and
that.
goes, Mr.
Mm-mm.
Lamia, I'm like, dude, you missed the L. Oh my God, are you that dumb? What are you here to do? I'm here to build your house. I don't think so. You can't even say my last name, which has nothing to do. It doesn't correlate at all to a skill set. But that's one of my. You're right. You look at people, and you're like, here in the South, we like to say, "Bless your heart,"
Yeah, bless your heart.
which means
In New York, you're dead to me.
Basically.
I used to say, "You fucking idiot." That translates like that.
Yeah.
Again, HR managers on the way. All right, number 3. So, what is your biggest DIY nightmare story? And we're
You guys
talking
are gonna
dead bodies, fire, water,
Blood.
It's
blood,
so
dismemberment.
stupid. But as a woman, I didn't know how to use power tools until the past 3 years. So everything was command strips. Got to hang something up. Didn't matter what it looked like. It was command strips, right? So I one year had the genius idea of hanging up this huge wall clock. I love this clock. It was like, it must have been like 20 pounds. It was ridiculously heavy. And I'm like, if I just put more command hooks up, it'll stay, right? Oh no. I put this thing up. It lasted like 5 hours. And I'm like, great. Like, okay, it's sinking into the wall. It's good. We're fine. I literally walk away. I'm like making dinner or some shit or like working on my computer. And this thing not only like just falls, it violently falls and just fucking breaks. I have pictures of it still because it's just shit was everywhere. It was completely demolished. Scared the shit out of me. And of course, now I realize like maybe I shouldn't use command strips on everything. And then my boyfriend at the time was like, okay, this weekend I'm coming over and we're learning the basics. We're learning how to use the drill and you're going to learn how to caulk a bathroom. And yeah, so all these pictures I hung up myself with a drill, which is like the greatest thing now. I know how to use a drill and all those things, but awesome. command strips suck. So
yep.
None of that anymore.
I love that. That's a small one, but as she's going through life as a meteor, she's going to have others where it's going to be even more catastrophic, and she could light a kitchen on fire like I did. I mean, I've done it all.
It's not a DIY, but I'm looking at my curtains right now, my like shades that come with my apartment that are supposed to stay here. I lit a candle that was too close to it and melted the whole right side of it. So, that's not really a DIY, but it's a dumb girl thing that I did that I have to stare at every day.
I like the command strip one.
The command strip one's good. Yeah, I love that one. That's awesome. Gabby, we have enjoyed this. We hope you have as well. All right, Small Business Safari team, you have picked up a lot of good information. You've picked it up from somebody who was going through life like a meteor, and we're going to put that on our podcast probably. I think that's going to be the title line because that's amazing. But anyway, keep up that optimistic spirit. Keep going up that mountaintop to success, and let's make it all happen.
Cheers.
Cheers.